and this is something I don't think they've ever answered, and I don't think they've been asked. Maybe I need to ask them. How many are there? How many actually said, we don't want any of this to come out? How many of them said that? How many of them said, we want total and complete secrecy of the findings of this investigation? We want none of this to ever come to light. None of the facts, none of the specifics, none of the things that were said to us, none of the things that were done to us. We want you to promise that there will be blanket secrecy of everything. Is that what they asked for? Or did they just say leave our names out of it? Because if it's just leave our name out of it, that's easy to fix. They did that with the Andrew Cuomo investigation. We made that point back in July when the Cuomo investigation came out.
Yeah.
Some people were named. Some people weren't. There's a way to do it. So what they're doing here is they are creating this gigantic shield.
Yeah, deflecting.
That is coated in righteousness. Mm-hmm. But under that patina of righteousness is layer and layer, frankly, of BS. Because they're using this as the justification to hide the information, Chris.
I mean, it certainly seems like that. Okay, but like where, how does that change? I mean, again, I mean, we don't know how many people or who was talked to within this investigation, like you talked about. And then what's it going to take to really change anything they're saying or doing, Mike? I mean, again, I think all the people that are a part of this investigation would have to come forward in some sort of letter, whatever, statements to kind of just say, hey, we were a part of the investigation, and please release all this information. We're saying it's okay. But the other thing is, like you said, we don't know. So, yeah, I mean, this is it seems like they're hiding behind it. There's no doubt about that. I don't disagree with you one bit there.
And the question was asked. And again, it's impossible for all of the questions to be asked in a setting like that. I'm not being critical of all of the reporters. I think the reporters did a good job. There's only so many questions that are going to be asked before you hear two more.
Yeah.
Or, if somebody changes the subject and asks a question about the Bills stadium while he's on the run on the issue of and I think what they did was they said, here, give the microphone to the guy who covers the Bills. So let him ask his Bills question so we can get off. And I'm not being facetious about that. I really do think, based upon what was said by Tim Graham of The Athletic when he ended up with a microphone, I think that they gave it to him because they knew he wasn't going to ask another question about the Washington football team. But one of the follow-ups, and this one came from Mark Maskey of the Washington Post, very, very obvious. Is there a way to release the information about what happened at the Washington football team by redacting the names to protect those who requested secrecy? There are ways to protect that allow transparency. It's kind of shameful that they think we're going to accept this and just move on. It insults the intelligence of the average person. And as George Carlin would say, think of how dumb the average person is, and half the people are dumber than that. Even the average person, it should insult their intelligence that they're playing this. And I'm going to borrow a term that was used by the judge in St. Louis who was presiding over the Rams relocation litigation when he issued a court order that multiple owners provide personal financial information for the assessment of potential punitive damages, and they failed to do it. That judge accused the NFL of engaging in a game of three-card Monte. Well, that's what they're doing here. And it's not a very good game of three-card Monte, but it's effective because what can you really do?
No,
there's no way for anyone in that moment to stand up and deliver the classic opening statement from My Cousin Vinny. I won't quote the line, but there's no one who's going to stand up and say that to him. That's not the way it works. So all he has to do, and he earned his next paycheck and maybe the next paycheck after that, because this is what he does. We've talked about this. He's the highest paid pincushion in the world. He's the guy who is running interference for the oligarchs behind the curtain. He just has to stand there with a straight face and say these things. And that's it. It's over. You walk away. And then it falls to us the next day to say, hey, folks, don't fall for this. It's not true. They can redact these names if they want to. They can find a way to give us this information if they want to. They don't want to. They don't want to. And they're never going to stand up and say, we don't want to and you can't make us. But that's the truth. We don't want to and you can't make us.
Well, no. I mean, listen, I do think there is something about, hey, they want to protect those that came forward. But it goes back down to the same elements we've discussed, throughout this whole topic when the Gruden emails first came out. Yeah, it's not, Mike. I mean, it's about the owners. It's about protecting them. It's about protecting the future and setting precedent like you talked about many, many times. And, the way they're doing this right now and handling it, I mean, they're winning. They're winning, definitely. I mean, again, you're still leading the charge here. I think, as the days go by, and, maybe a little unfortunate that they had the owners' meetings and this type of meeting this week so shortly after all of this happened, to where it brought a little bit light back on the situation. I don't know. People like you who are aggressively trying to pursue this, I don't follow everything like along these lines quite like you, but it feels like day by day people are falling by the wayside on this subject a little bit. And there is the aggressiveness of wanting to know they're slowly just beating it down with answers like that, and they're going to continue to ride this storm. And it doesn't change my thoughts here. There's just no way they're ever going to break down here. There's just no way at all. They're too worried about protecting and setting precedents for their owner. They can talk about those who came forward all they want. I don't want to call them liars, but that's not the main goal here. We know that.
During football season, there is a constant stream of bright, shiny objects that legitimately appear on our TV screens to allow things to move on. Think of the vibe coming out of Week 7. There was no discussion of the Washington football team situation on any of the pregame shows, even though the most significant development yet happened last Thursday night when Congress said, hey, NFL, we would very much like to find out more about this investigation, the results of which you are hiding. It died quickly. The Browns-Broncos game, we move on. All the games Sunday, we move on. Monday night, we move on. And really, the only reason we're talking about it today is because the commissioner talked about it yesterday. Right. And I really do wonder why the press conference was last night, because they have meetings this morning. And I want to know, is he going to talk? I don't know why he would talk twice. I don't know why he'd come back today and reporters are able to craft some follow-up questions when they can really think about it, right? Yeah. I don't know why they would do that.
Scheduled to talk today?
I don't know. No. But I didn't know he was scheduled to talk last night. I doubt that he would talk again. I doubt that he would. I doubt that he will. I think that was it. We're not getting another bite at the apple, and people aren't going to have a chance to ask more questions that would get into, for example, the specific, hey, how did these things get leaked? That wasn't asked. Hey, are you troubled? How troubled are you, Commissioner, by the fact that you want all this stuff to be secret and there are 650,000 emails and some of them were weaponized to take out one of your 32 head coaches during football season? Aren't you troubled by that? That wasn't asked. And if he was available today, maybe it would be asked. So many questions weren't asked. And that's inherent to a press conference. What he needs to do is sit down with somebody, and I'm not saying it should be me because he would never sit down and talk to me about this because I'm going to ask all the questions and I'm not going to blink and I'm not going to bow and I'm going to be up to speed on it. See, when he was on the run with Ray Rice in 2014, he did an interview with somebody who doesn't cover the NFL. He did a news interview. Yeah. And look, those folks get properly up to speed, but you got to be living it, I think, to fully understand and be ready to ask the follow-up question when there's a crack in one of the answers that invites that question, when you kind of maybe have him on the ropes a little bit and maybe you're getting to the truth. But he's not going to do that. He's not going to do that. Because this isn't about getting to the truth.
So, Mike,
this is about saying enough so you can move on.
Right. Wait, I don't want to ask you, too. And again, you know me. I'm Johnny Football. I'm not looking at, all this stuff all the time as far as when the commissioner's talking or some of those details. Was he scheduled? He wasn't scheduled to talk last night? Was that was kind of out of nowhere? Is that what
I don't – look – I'm not at the meeting, so I don't know what was being told to the reporters. Right. Okay. All I know is I saw a tweet at around 7 o'clock saying the commissioner is speaking shortly. Yeah. And I said, holy crap. Right. Holy crap. let's dial up NFL Network and see what he has to say.
Yeah.
So that was the first I saw of it, because the
first I saw
ritual
of it,
definitely
too.
is
Yeah.
it's after the meeting's end, not Tuesday night on a 2-day meeting.
Makes me believe it was that was part of the plan. Let's catch them by surprise. Let's not let anybody, think this out too much, so we don't get too tough of questions. Let's.
Hey, Chris.
I don't know.
You're right. You're right. No,
But
listen. They started a few years ago. The commissioner press conference used to be on the Friday before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, right.
And that was when the maximum concentration of media were present in the Super Bowl city. All of a sudden, they start doing it on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And they realize, because I know from interactions with people at the league office, I know they get very nervous about that, because you never know who's going to be there. You never know what the questions are going to be.
Right.
You just never know what it's going to turn into. And so we eliminate some of the wild cards if we do this earlier in the week, when we know there's a lower concentration of total media, because it keeps going, as we know, up and up and up as you get closer and closer to the game. So I think we're on to something.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.